Oh, so let's get back to natural law. This will be natural law part 3. Um, I forgot. I'm uploading a video now. I can't even remember what it. Oh, it's on DMT, on DMT and ayahuasca. This popular trend. You know, these are, and this is what. So see how all this ties together. Like if you just kind of focus on the subject of the truth versus what's popular. There's the truth, and then there's what's popular. You know. And they're not the same thing. What's popular is not the truth. Okay, so for example, when we're talking about natural law, well, it's popular to reject natural law. Like people think that they can just do whatever they want and there's no consequences to it. We see this all the time. Like go on a platform like BitChute, for example. And all these people are talking all this mad shit and acting like there's not going to be any consequences to the stupid shit they say, you know. But natural law suggests otherwise, you know. And so, you know, natural law suggests that sooner or later a beat dog bites. If you beat a dog, sooner or later, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but sooner or later, a beat dog bites. That's natural law. You know, so I can think, oh, it doesn't matter that I kick the dog, you know, it doesn't matter. And I can think that, and maybe I can keep thinking that, and you know, nothing will happen for a long time, but eventually something's going to happen. That's just natural law, you know. But see, the truth, natural law is the truth, but the truth isn't popular. So people are always pushing against the truth. They're trying to go against the truth. You know, oh, that, you know, natural law won't get me. I can do whatever I want, you know. And this is how natural law fucking gets you, is by, you know, resisting the reality of it, the truth. There's consequences to resisting the truth. Okay. So, anyways, see, now I totally forgot what this video was about. I wanted to. Oh yeah. Well, so this is more about natural law. Treebeard is arguably my favorite archetype in the entire Lord of the Rings mythos. And there's a very specific reason, you know. There's a very specific reason. Like everything about how Treebeard is portrayed in the myth, in the as an archetype, is like purely exemplifies natural law in its most truest form. Like Treebeard is featured just a little bit. He's not a big star. Treebeard isn't the big star of the story, which is all by, this is all has meaning. There's a reason. You know, like the story of the mustard seed, where you plant a tiny seed and it ends up growing into this massive, massive tree. You know, the whole thing of and that is how Treebeard is in the story. Treebeard is is this little seed that is planted in this big story, but Treebeard actually ends up like dominating the lesson in the whole story of Lord of the Rings, which the lesson is like the mustard seed, you know, like Treebeard is the whole point of the entire book of Lord of the Rings. It really is. So if you want to summarize what the Lord of the Rings is about, you just look at the Treebeard archetype, and it summarizes the entire Lord of the Rings story. And what do you see? What do you see when you look at Treebeard? And this is natural law. Like, it's all about natural. So Treebeard, he's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy, but he's not a good guy. You know, the hobbits are like, oh, Treebeard, won't you help us? And Treebeard's like, fuck you. I don't need your civil war. It feeds the rich while it buries the poor. Like, stay away from me. Go fight your wars on your own. I'm not part of your drama. It's all just bullshit. That's Treebeard. And see, that's natural law. That's a natural response to such a proposal. Like, oh, please help us fight. Well, why would a character like Treebeard fight for them? He has every reason to be based in the stance that he stands on, which is no. I don't know you. I don't, and I'm not on anybody's side because nobody's on my side. See, you have to understand the Ents, Treebeard and the Ents, they were abandoned by Middle Earth at large. Like, nobody in Middle Earth ever gave a fuck about the Ents. And so the Ents just abandoned society and said, well, fuck you. You don't care about us. We don't care about you. And they just abandoned society and went off grid. And then to the point where they became a myth. Nobody was even sure if the Ents even existed or not. And then the hobbits accidentally came across the Ents. And then the hobbits are like, oh, wow, there's these big giant trees that are alive and can talk and they're strong and stuff. They can help us fight this war. And so they're asking Treebeard and the Ents, won't you please help us? And the Ents are like, no, you guys, none of you ever gave a fuck about us. So why should we join your side? You've never been on our side. Nobody cares for the Ents. Nobody does. And so that's just natural law. That's natural law. If you abandon a sect of people like the Ents, and then years later you come to them asking them for help because they happen to have some skill that you need, are they going to help you? No. They're going to say, dude, run along and fuck off. So that's natural. That's a natural response that the Ents had when the hobbits were like, please help us fight this war. They're like, no, I don't need your civil war, right? All it does is bury us and help you. So fuck you, run along, have fun in your little civil war or whatever. And so that was the Ent stance. And it's like beautiful. It's like beautiful. I mean, everything about the Ents and Treebeard was just like, they were the quintessential fucking Lord of the Rings fucking archetype. Like, no other archetype in Lord of the Rings tops that. Like, that is it. But see, the Ents ended up in the battle. And they were actually, if it weren't for the Ents, Saruman would have never been defeated. And if Saruman wouldn't have been defeated, arguably they would have lost the war. Sauron and Saruman would have won. So it was the Ents. But see, it's just this, it's like this very vague thing. You have to really pay attention to really notice how profound the presence of the Ents is in this whole story. Because the author, he made it, this is all on purpose. He made it like this to get people to think and to really think. The Ents and Treebeard are the mustard seed in the book Lord of the Rings, in the story of Lord of the Rings. They are the fucking, like, everything in the whole story. Like, the Ents can summarize the entire story of Lord of the Rings. And that's why the Ents, if it weren't for the Ents, Saruman would have never been defeated. And the only reason that the Ents decided to engage in the battle is because Saruman started killing the Ents. And when the Ents saw that Saruman was killing the Ent race, then they had a stake in it. Then they had a reason They had a reason to actually engage. And they weren't like, really, they weren't taking a side. They just were having a natural response to what was happening. It wasn't about taking sides. It was they're like, what the fuck? This dude's fucking, fuck this. And so then all the trees, all the big giant ants all fucking armed up and said, fuck this shit, and ran in. And they just completely took over Saruman's castle and fucking destroyed everything in like in one fell swoop, like with ease. They just fucking like smashed that motherfucker. Only because Saruman was killing the ants. Once the ants found out, they're like, fuck this. And see, this is all that's natural law. This is what happens. Like, people need to have a reason and a purpose to get involved with something, not just because somebody told them they should. Everybody's full of shit. Who cares what people say about anything? Because everybody's full of shit. That is not a reason to get involved, is because somebody told me that I should, is not a good reason to get involved. And so the ants were very wise and critical of everything and everyone, including themselves. They didn't just blindly jump into whatever just because somebody said that that's the good thing to do. They said, you know what, fuck you. Fuck you and your morality. You guys abandoned us long ago. You guys never cared for the ants, and now you're trying to, tell us what's moral and what's right. Like, fuck you, go fuck yourself. Get away from us. But then when the ants saw that Saruman was killing the ants right in front of them, they said, hey, what the fuck is this shit? And then they fucking armed up and went straight in and took him down like no problem. And if it weren't for the ants, they would have probably lost the battle against Sauron and lost the war. And then that's it. Beyond that, the ants, you never really see them again. They're like, okay, bye. That's based. That's based. That is reality. That is natural law. That is a beautiful illustration of natural law and why people do the things they do. And it's the same thing as the stingray getting stepped on. The stingray keeps getting stepped on, and he's like, the fuck is this shit? And he just stings the fucking the guy who's stepping on him. Like, fuck you, motherfucker. Bam. And that motherfucker jumped back. He flew up in the air and slammed down on the ground and was screaming and moaning in agony and stuff. This is natural law, and it's not natural to just join something for no reason. The story wouldn't be right if the ants just joined, like, oh, okay, yeah, oh yeah, sure, we'll help you. You're just the innocent good hobbits. We're gonna join you guys. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense, because that's not the way reality works. Natural law.